than the other, so let's give it a second. All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? It is your good old boy JR coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada, here with my buddy Brandon, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. Happy Friday to everybody all involved that is going to see this video here pretty soon. It is Friday. We have finally made it to another weekend. Time to kick back, relax. Well, you guys get to relax for a little bit. Me and Brandon got to do a little bit more homework here, and then we can start our weekend. Today, Brandon, it's all about your city, man. The Houston Texans are on the clock. And I know that's a scary thing. I know there hasn't been a lot of hope, especially this last few years. There hasn't really been anything to kind of brag about. Hasn't been really anything cool to talk about. But hey, there's a lot to cover here. All I want to know is, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. And we're off to the races, folks. Today, it's all about the Houston Texans. Now, unfortunately, the Houston Texans, another disappointing year, another abysmal year, another year of change, another year of yada, yada, yada. You've heard it all before with the Houston Texans. New everything again. David Coley, same thing as Urban Meyer. One and done. After posting a 4-13 record, which hosted the 30th best offense and the 27th defense, there was not a lot of room that the Texans could have done. Really, their roster wasn't that filled with great talent. And honestly, their only roster that was worse than theirs was the Jaguars. And Brandon made a lot of jokes during our prediction show. Like, man, whoever loses between Houston and Texans, they might just get the number one pick. And sure enough, there it is, man. There's your number one. Jacksonville got your number one, and Houston's at number 3. So overall, I know we're going to get into this. Overall, we're going to get into the Deshaun Watson thing here in a little bit. But overall, what are the Texans doing down there in Houston, Brandon? Like, what's the sense of feeling in Houston down there? Like, what is happening?
The feeling is, I guess, stay the course, in a sense, which they don't really have that much course to stay. I mean, they're just really bad at everything. It is mainly their owner. It's really the owner, Common there. Let's be real. Like, he was the one that came out with that phrase. They're just inmates in a prison. That was him.
That's probably not the smartest thing to say.
Yeah, they're inmates in a prison. That's what he said. He said that. Nobody else, not even Jerry Jones, would say something like that. I was shocked. So, yeah, I mean, it's more so Common there. And I think after if they have another abysmal season, which, let's be real, can possibly happen, we shall see. I mean, you can't really force an owner to, give up a team. I mean, they haven't done it in Washington or Miami yet, so we shall see. But yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know, but I mean, his way of thinking, it might go like the Denver Broncos after their owner passed. Their family was just like, we don't want to do this. We don't want to deal with this. Let's just put it up for sale. Let's go on about our business. And I can see it happening. I can definitely see it happening, but it's going to probably be a couple years if that happens. I'm just saying. Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, listen, Houston is they're more so on the Astros and the Rockets. That's how bad it is out here for the sports.
Yeah, I look at Houston, and I think what it is, I think the best way to put Houston is they're between a rock and a hard place, because
I think they're between a rock and a boulder. But either way it goes.
I mean, it's just however you want to look at it for the Houston Texans. I mean, just and we can call it what it is. They're terrible trade acquisitions. You traded a bunch of draft capital for Laramie Tunsil.
Oh my God.
You didn't want to give him what he wanted, in a sense. All he asked was for a line. You didn't give him that. And I think it finally caught up to him that Bill O'Brien, his method of madness was winning in football games, but in the end, this was going to be the result whether Bill O'Brien was still here or not. this was going to be the downfall. It's like, dude, you made too many moves and you played your hand too much. I think the Houston Texans as a franchise just played their hand too much and they went all in too many times that finally they just got dealt that hand that didn't win them the pot. And it's apparent. I mean, really, it's apparent when you look at the way the season played out. You hire a coach, a wide receiver coach, who was the worst wide receiver coach in the NFL, whose wide receiver group ranked 32, and you made him the head coach. You hired a general manager from the get-go. Deshaun Watson said, I want nothing to do with this football team. I want nothing to do with this man. And against his wishes, you still said, we're hiring him. It's all pretty much, it's in a sense, yeah, you're right. Ownership does have to take responsibility too, but it's like you made all these moves because you promised Deshaun Watson that he was going to be the key factor of this. He was going to be the driver of this. How did he want to build the Houston Texans? And you did nothing but that. It got to a point where, honestly, in reality, you look at it, you wasted 2 years of his football career. Once where he played last year, and this year where he sat out, and he said, I'm not going to play for this team until I kind of get what I want. And I think it was a crappy move on his part. I don't think he should have sat out. I mean, obviously now everything is hindsight is 2020. You know, that's the old saying, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
I think he should have came back and at least, try to play and make it work and everything. But I can understand his frustration at that time. And I can understand why he wanted to sit out.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you trade his only weapon on offense for a running back who hasn't been top of the, running back class in years, and for like 2 or 3 years because he's been injured, it literally is a very bad situation. Then you have your best player of all time waste away his career, and you're looking at him like, if you're Deshaun Watson, you're looking at JJ Watt, and you're saying to yourself, I don't want to be like you that stayed a little bit too damn long. We talked about this last night. I don't want to be like you that stayed a little bit too long here and never win anything, because it's just like they weren't going to get better. I think that, like you said, Houston was going to end up like this regardless. I don't think it really mattered if Deshaun was still there or JJ was still there or Bill O'Brien was still there. This was just the way that the cards was just going to be dealt eventually. And even though they kind of helped themselves out a lot in this situation by hiring Bill O'Brien to be the head coach and a general manager after getting rid of Rick Smits, you kind of put yourself in this position. And then later on, like you said, they hired the general manager first, but Deshaun Watson was like, I don't care if he's from the Patriots. I don't want him to be the general manager because he told me I wouldn't be a good starting quarterback in the league when I was going through the drafting process. So he had already a problem with this general manager for years. So it's not like it just popped up. No, you've been known he said this to this man years ago. And then you hire him, and to kind of put the icing on the cake, David Collier was really just a token hire because Deshaun Watson was like, I want a black coach, but I don't want to be here. I want Brian Flores. He wanted to go to Miami because he wanted to be coached by Brian Flores.
Yep.
And you just hired David Collier to kind of like smooth out the situation. And Deshaun Watson was like, congratulations on that job, but I still want to get traded. I don't want to be here. And that's how you knew.
Yeah. And now, and I think, this is the part where, I try to avoid, but unfortunately it happens, and we're just going to get it right through this. He sat out, and then all of a sudden these accusations started coming up of him, just doing some, bad shit, bad stuff.
Yeah.
To masseuse and everything. I guess he would go to the massage parlor and, he would kind of do some inappropriate things and everything. It started off with 4, then it went to 8, and then it went to 22. At the end of total of it, it went to 22 women. Now, this is where I don't want to get people to get offended. This is where I don't want people to think, who are you defending, the women or Deshaun Watson? Because, there's 2 sides to every story. There's one side where it's like Deshaun,
Well, that's 3.
there's going to be the, the old saying, you're innocent until proven guilty, but then there's the guilty until proven innocent part. There's that crowd. And then there's the crowd of these women lied. And this is why we don't take, serious issues to this matter. I don't want that. What gets me is it brings me sadness. It brings me a lot of sadness to know that after everything, after this year and a half of debacle that Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans try to put through each other, at the end of it, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
One jury in the Texas courthouse didn't even want to take the cases. They said not enough evidence. Then, as he got traded to Cleveland, there was a rumor about another indictment on him, but they threw that away too. What kills me in all of this that nobody's talking about is one, in one sense, we're never going to know because to now, Deshaun Watson's an innocent man. Now, if you saw the press conference today, which, by the way, it was very cringeworthy as hell. I mean, I don't know if you saw the press conference of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. That was one of those press conferences where I was kind of like, I was on my lunch break and I'm like, man, this is
weird.
This
very
is the
weird.
Weirdest, cringeworthiest press conferences I've ever seen because usually you have everybody there. The owner, general manager, the head coach. It was just very weird. It was more like an accusation trial than anything.
Yeah.
Then, he gets to Cleveland, and then the second grand jury of another Texas courthouse said, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. So now the problem is it's like his name's always going to be there. So he said the right thing. Like, I want to clear my name. But this is the thing where I'm kind of lost in the shuffle with both sides. In one side, you have an innocent man per se, because the courts didn't want to charge him, and they didn't charge him. So he, in the sense of the law, he's an innocent man. But what kills me and what saddens me more than anything is that the fate of 22 women was just thrown out the freaking door in a trash bin near a dispensary that's burning down to the flame. They didn't even look at it. They didn't want to look at it. They didn't want to ask any questions. They just said not enough, and that was the end of that. So now I feel bad for these 22 women, and there's always going to be, in both sides, it's always going to be a hard thing. And I don't like to bring this stuff up during sports because it should be fun, entertainment, and everything. Yeah. But sometimes, just doesn't always go that way. For me, it's kind of sad to know that it's a crappy ending for all parties involved. Deshaun Watson's always going to have that until if he ever clears his name up. And then you're going to have the 22 women who, let's be frank, there's some terrible men out there that are only thinking one thing: gold diggers. They're going to have that term with them for the rest of their life. And it just doesn't help when a lot of these things come out. What I would prefer it happen, really look into it. But since two courthouses said no more, he's a free man, and Cleveland was willing to give it all up for an elite quarterback that has a lot of talent, and Cleveland got the better of the deal. Now, that doesn't mean that he still can't get suspended by the commissioner. Doesn't mean that still can't happen, but it's going to be pretty hard to come up with a suspension for him when he didn't even get tried. Didn't even get a sentence. So that's going to be interesting to see. I guess my final take on it before we move on is what I want is truth on both sides. What really happened, but maybe that'll be something for down the road. Go ahead, Brandon. You can have this before we move on to the rest of the Texan squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive elephant in the room. How we all got here in the situation that we're in. I think that the situation that maybe Deshaun put himself in maybe was, there's no way that Houston Texans organization didn't know anything about this before it even hit like public.
Right.
So
it would be hard for me to believe that.
So it's kind of like, did you guys cover this up just because he was your starting quarterback, or did you guys also put this out there because he wanted to leave? So to me, it's kind of hard to even like put. I don't know how to put blame on either side. Like it's kind of hard because like if I'm blaming anything, yeah, I'm blaming Deshaun for putting himself in that position because that's kind of stupid to have. You just signed this massive contract.
Yeah.
And then you do something stupid like this. This is kind of dumb on you. But it kind of looks at, and then I look at the Houston Texans and I'm like, well, if you knew this, and some of them was actually some people that were connected to your organization that did this and filed these lawsuits, how much of covering up did you do? Because then that makes me feel like, well, did you guys plan to release this when he left? What if he did get traded right away? Were you just gonna do that right then and there? Like, cause I don't know how this really goes, and I think that that's kind of the problem.
And that's the thing. I think everybody just got a tricky.
Because
now we're in a situation where we're right back to Washington. All those years of allegations, and the problem is that nobody's taking it seriously because they happened so long ago. This is the stupidest thing I hate about people. Why did you wait so long to say anything? That is such a stupid remark. Because who is going to believe at that point in time? Like, really? Because then here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal with the cases like this. You're damned if you do, and if you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Because if you do, then it's going to be like, oh, really? Are you saying so a billionaire attacked you, but not a bum making it paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah.
Then it's, oh, well, why did you wait all these years? It's one of those things where I hate the fact that we can't take this more seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
people can't just take this seriously and say, listen, doesn't matter how long ago it was, assault is still assault.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to be better as human beings, for one. Two, it doesn't matter how long ago it was. My only fear in this now is that this is going to get lost in the shuffle, and it's just going to be another little footnote in NFL history.
Well, it depends on if he gets suspended from it. Then it doesn't get lost in the shuffle because he got suspended.
At that point, he could appeal and be like, why are you suspending me for this when I have court documentation saying there's no charge?
Yeah, I mean,
and then it's going to be a battle between him and Roger Goodell, and then the owners have to get it. It's going to be a big mess, which is why I have this gut feeling he won't get suspended.
He might not. I mean, listen, this is how I feel. You said it earlier. There's, his side and their side. I think it's 3 sides. Well, 4 if you count the Texan side, because I don't know what side they're really on. But 4 sides. I think it's Deshaun's, the women's, the side, the Texan side, and then the truth. Something we don't know. And at the end of the day, if we don't know, it's hard to be like you just said, it's hard to be like, you're the reason, like, you're going to get suspended. It's kind of hard to say that because we don't know.
And the only thing I want out of this is just the 22 women that were involved. We hear you. We hear you.
I would actually want to see and hear their story.
Like, we hear you.
Yeah.
The problem is we're not big enough for nobody to care. That's the problem.
Yeah, we're not ESPN. That's
the problem.
We're not ESPN. We're not CBS.
We're nothing like that. We're just we're 2 sports nuts that just love doing this. But we understand what right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And we hear you. And if you ever see this, if any of you guys ever see this video, just know that, we're with you. And, I hope that you get some form of justice, whatever it is. So,
true.
Other than that, let's get back to the fun side of this now. So,
well, it's just fun because it's still the Houston Texans.
I know it's still the Houston Texans, but. So here's the deal. Deshaun Watson sat out. It happens. So Houston had to think big on their feet. So How do you do that? With no draft capital, no cap space, and you're really talentless to begin with. So your first pick, automatically, David Mills, third round, pick 67, quarterback out of Stanford. And look, I'm not saying he was the next Andrew Luck. I'm not saying he was the next Jim Plunkett, but the guy played, and he played decently enough. What was around him?
He's all right. He's good.
I'm not going to sit here and say that, he's the best thing since sliced bread, but Pep Hamilton did all he could with it. And he showed where it's like, damn, maybe this kid's got, it's getting to the point where a lot of us are saying, damn, maybe this kid's got something, because Pep Hamilton, one of the best passing game coordinators in the history of the NFL, did something with this guy. So I don't know. That was my first take on it. And you know what? He didn't even play all season. 5 games in, Tyrod Taylor was the starter, and then they're like, all right, seen enough. David, get in there, and he took the reins the rest of the way.
But then I think Tyrod Taylor got injured.
That was an injury and a benching at the same time.
It's like stupid. I have no idea how this man has this much bad luck. I have no clue.
The guy is just like he has the worst luck I've ever met in my life.
I have no clue. I have no clue. But anyway,
so, I mean, from taking the Buffalo Bills to their first playoff appearance in many, many years to having this bad luck of injuries. I remember this Tyrod Taylor's almost died last year. Almost died. Because I guess they punctured something wrong or something. Like on his
lung?
And I'm like, dude, what the if that wasn't a sign of God telling him, hey, man, maybe the NFL is not for you, kudos to him, dude.
I mean, listen. He had a punctured lung, but we got Justin Herbert out the deal. So I get it. You're still alive. You're still breathing, but we got Justin Herbert out the deal. So I'm good.
And you know what? I'm sure Tyrod Taylor was just fine with it. Like, look, I knew the deal when you drafted him. And I'm sure he's happy that he's performing.
I mean, same thing when they drafted Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. I mean, clearly that was wrong, but, it is what it is.
I think Tyrod Taylor knows his place in the NFL. He's like, hey, man, I know my deal. I'm just here to play as long as I can and help any way I can. That, my friend, is the ultimate teammate. That, my friend, is the ultimate
Until he gets benched, then he's like, screw this.
Yeah. Yes, I'm out of here now. See y'all later. Then, same round, pick 89. Nico Collins, the wide receiver out of Michigan. You know what? For a third-round wide receiver, you kind of expect something good. Kind of not a bang for your buck, but maybe get like some pennies on the dollar. And all he was able to muster was 33 receptions, 446 yards, and 1 touchdown. That's literally 2 receptions a game.
So you're saying he's not St. Brown. That's what you're saying.
He is not Amon St. Brown. He is not. Okay. And remember, he was taken before him. So
a whole round before him.
Pretty rough. A whole round before him. Woof. Well, then they had to wait until the 5th round. They're staying with the offense. Brevin Jordan, the tight end out of the U. All right. Not much. 20 receptions, 178 yards, 3 touchdowns. And we all knew what Brevin Jordan was going to be anyway. He was going to be a red zone threat, blocking tight end. That was it. That was kind of the highest ceiling. So to get him in the 5th wasn't that bad. It was not that bad. Staying in the 5th round at pick 170, they ended up getting Garrett Wallow, the linebacker out of TCU. 15 tackles, 1 sack. There's nothing really more you can say about that.
I don't know what to say about that either.
Once you get in those rounds, 5 through 7, you're hoping they can contribute on special teams.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for at that point. And that's the thing about these fans. Like, these fans think, like, man, we have to draft Hall of Fame players in every round. That's a great theory.
If you can find it. Listen, not everybody's going to find a Tom Brady. Not everybody's going to find a Marcus Colston. You might get literally some peanuts and some Cracker Jacks. Like, that's all you're going to get. Like, that might be what you
and they might turn out to be a solid piece core defense, rotational, offense, rotational, special teams ace. And that's okay.
Listen, you might get Terrell Davis, or you might just get a dude that might deliver beer the next week. We don't know. We shall
Right.
see.
Sometimes you get a Terrell Davis. Sometimes you get a Maurice Claret. It happens,
Hey,
man.
it happens.
It happens, man. It happens. It's okay. And then their last pick 195, Roy Lopez, defensive tackle out of Arizona, 20 tackles, 1 sack. Listen, again, you just hope he can contribute in some type of way, and it looks like he almost did. So here's the deal, and there's nothing to it. We already said it. Tyrod Taylor started the season for only 6 games until he got benched from injury. David Coley only lasted 1 year. And Deshaun Watson sat out. He is now a Cleveland Brown with all those amazing picks that Cleveland gave up to Houston. So Houston's going to pick again, pick number 13. So in that episode, we're going to talk about the Browns, but we're going to make the selection for the Texans, which I think in the end, I think this is what the Texans needed. I think the Texans knew. I think Lovie Smith is smart enough to know, like, listen, how do I deal with having no draft capital, no cap space, and no talent? I got to sacrifice the biggest star I have and rebuild this whole team again.
Hey.
And I know it's hard letting go of an elite quarterback at a prime age. That's like if Kansas City were to let go of trade Patrick Mahomes away today. That's pretty much what it would feel like. That's what it feels like for the Houston Texans. We have to restart this thing. And honestly, you look at the roster of the Texans, it's not that much better than the Jaguars. I mean, look, their leading rusher wasn't even the guy they traded for DeAndre Hopkins. It was Rex Burkhead, a fullback running back, 427 yards and 3 touchdowns. Here's the leading receiver on the team. You know him, Brandon Cooks. Another 1,000-yard season and 6 touchdowns. Here's the one thing about Brandon Cooks that I want people to understand. He will never be an elite number 1, but damn, if he's your number 2, you got something, man.
Yeah, you got something.
You got a golden child, man.
You got something. I don't know what it is, but you got something.
You got something. And then, your leading tackler, Kama Gruger-Hill with 108 tackles. You know what? When your linebackers all over the field like that and you drafted them, that's a good sign. That's a good sign that at least he's getting to the ball carrier.
Yeah.
Like, at least he's getting to the ball. And then your interception kings, no pun intended, was Lonnie Johnson and Desmond King with 3 interceptions. Those are 2 good cornerbacks. Those are 2 solid defensive players on the secondary side. And then Jonathan Grenard with 8 sacks. That's your sack leader. I mean, listen, it's a long way from J.J. Watt, but damn, 8 sacks for a guy that replaced him? You can't be upset about that. So, I mean, what do you think, Brent? Look, overall, it's the Texans. I get it. But what direction sense are they heading into? Like, what direction sense are you getting the feel of they have to head into?
The number 1 pick next year.
Oh, God. Brandon. Brandon.
Hey, look, it's a toss-up. Listen, I wrote down Houston Texans. I wrote down good, and I wrote down bad. I said good, David Mills. He's actually better than a lot of people want to give him. Like I said last night, I think he's actually better than what people want to give him. We shall see what he does in his sophomore year. I know a lot of more tape on him now, so you know how to maybe manage him. This is his 2nd straight year where he's going to have to go through another offense and have to figure out how to manage it.
Get it all together, yeah.
It's better to do it in training camp than midway through the damn season. So
that cannot be more truthful, man.
And then I said bad, everything else. Everything else. They literally traded a cornerback, their best cornerback, away. Like mid-season, they traded their cornerback. They traded away Mark Ingram, who you signed and you literally just gave up back to us for no apparent reason, just because. It's I don't get it. Like, the Texans are just so rocky. It's like you said, the Jags. It's just, I can literally see for the next 2-3 years, we're going to be sitting here saying, so who's going to be number 1 this year, Texans or Jags?
And that's tough because I think Lovie Smith is going to try his best to do the best.
That's all he can do. That's all he can do.
And I know here's the thing about the Lovie Smith hire. At least they're going to give him the time. They're going to give him the time.
I would
I
hope so.
hope they give him the time.
There it is. I would
18.
hope they would give him the time.
Because this is not going to be a 1 year turnaround thing. Like, let's put it this way. Look at the top 3 teams that are drafting right now. Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston. Out of those 3, who do you think is going to who do you trust to have a turnaround?
Detroit.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, that's the thing. I trust Detroit more than anything at this point. And that's a very bold statement to say.
It's crazy that literally the 2 of the teams in the top 3 of the draft, we're going to be like, okay, so who's going to be 3rd in the first pick of the draft? Like, and then maybe the 2nd pick or the 3rd pick of the draft. Yeah. And then whoever's 4th is going to clearly be the 1st pick of the draft. Yeah. That's a damn shame. That's a
I get it. No, I get it. I get it. So, and you know what? And, you know, we talk about not having talent. I mean, look at the players that left. Justin Reed is now a Kansas City Chief. He's gone. Jake Martin is now a Jet. Tyrod Taylor is now going to be competing for the starting job for the New York Giants. Understand that. AJ Moore is now a Titan. Terrence Mitchell, a very underrated corner, is now heading to New England. And you know how Bill Belichick loves his corners, man. He loves his corners. And I'll tell you what, Terrence Mitchell going to New England was probably the best thing that ever happened to him. And then Garyon Christian, he's heading to Kansas City with Justin Reed. Now, the good thing is, though, you did re-sign Kamu Grugier-Hale to a 1-year deal. You're going to give him another shot. Let's see what happens there. But another thing, too, it's like when you're so cap-strapped, these are the best players you can afford. A.J. Cann, guard from Jacksonville. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, linebacker from Detroit. Andy Janovich, fullback from Cleveland. You don't think he wants to go back to Cleveland right now? You don't think he wants to go back? Kyle Allen, the backup to one Taylor Heinicke, is now going to be the backup to a David Stills. MJ Stewart, a cornerback from Cleveland. Scott Queensberry left the Chargers because he thinks he can compete for a starting job, and he probably can. He probably can.
Is that the hell?
I mean, he was the backup center to Corey Lindsey. And it's like, you know what? If I can learn from this guy, I'm pretty sure they'll give me a shot to be the starting center for this team. So all I'm saying is this. When you're so cap-strapped and you have no draft capital, sometimes you got to make the ultimate sacrifice. And that ultimate sacrifice this year was getting rid of Deshaun Watson, trading him for a bunch of picks. Cleveland so desperately wanted a quarterback. Well, they got him, and we desperately need draft capital. And here we are today.
I literally am still trying to figure out why they didn't take Baker Mayfield.
Because why?
I mean, listen, I would have assumed they would have traded, maybe.
Because, and we're going to get to Cleveland here in about 10 days, but I actually want to bring something up here.
Right.
Prior to the trade,
Baker
Mayfield put a letter out saying his goodbyes already.
True.
He's still living in that same house. Like, understand what the Browns did. They divorced with Baker Mayfield. They got remarried, and he's still living in that same house. How awkward do you think is that?
He's not living in a house. He's living in a garage. We got to be better at this. He's living in a garage. They're trying to figure out some garage measurements so he could kick his ass out. But they're really coming up short.
Like, dude, this is so bad. Like, I have never seen, like, and I can understand in a situation where in a world where if Deshaun Watson does get suspended and he accepts the suspension,
I'm still
okay, Baker.
I'm still starting Jacoby Brissett.
Okay, Baker, compete with Jacoby Brissett, and if you win the quarterback battle, you'll play for the games as long as Deshaun Watson. And here's the thing. Let's say if the suspension is 10 games, right? Let's say the suspension is 8 to 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun comes back and it's like, dude, you know the season's over. Do you just tell to Cleveland, hey, man, bench me the rest of the year, give Baker one more shot to look decent, and then you can trade him next year. Maybe you're not going to get a first, but maybe you'll get a fourth or something. Maybe
Yeah,
you get
right
a
now. Yeah, right now they might not even get cash for the man.
and that's what I'm saying.
They can't even get cash consideration.
And how sad is that? The former number 1 overall pick can't even get a draft pick. Sam
Oh
Darnold
wow.
got traded away.
Yeah.
When Nick Foles and Sam Darnold are tradable and you're not, something tells me, man, your days of starting in the NFL are almost
Sam
done.
Darnold and Nick Foles are really good guys, and Baker Mayfield is a bit of an a-hole. So there goes that.
Yeah, but everybody has to be a bit of an a-hole to play in the NFL. You got to.
Yeah, you could be a bit of an a-hole if you actually, are good at your job, especially the main position that everybody needs. And you're a bit of an a-hole and you're not good at it. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a bit
I
of a
forget
problem.
that. I forget that Hard Knocks. I think it was the one with Tampa Bay with the special teams coach where he
Yeah.
drilled them. And I think that was Devontae Freeman's rookie year. And I like that special teams coach still gives me nightmares to this freaking day. It's just oh, you're gonna respect him. Oh, you're gonna respect him the way, and he said some stuff, and I'm just like, oof, man, I'm glad I'm not in that room. I'm so glad I'm not in that room today, because man, I'd rather be anywhere else, but right there in that seat. So, in the end, what are we saying? The Texans have no talent. You needed to do everything you could to.
You know what's crazy? I would actually say Jacksonville's got a better head coach.
At this point, they do.
And that's scary. That's a bad feeling.
That's a scary thing to think of, but this is the way I look at it.
They're in the same boat, but it's kind of like I actually can see Jacksonville actually being the third best team in the division.
And that's a funny thought to think of too. But in the end of it, this is how I kind of feel about it with Texans. We know it's a rebuild. We know it. And even if here's the thing about it. Whether or not they land the top pick next year, if they don't land the top pick, two things happened. One, the team found some good talent, and David Mills is doing just enough to win and not be a problem. And if they land the top pick next year, they're just going to get the best quarterback in the draft class next year. So the Texans are in a position where, I mean, I hate to say it, cry for Bryce? I mean, I'm just throwing names out there already.
Throw it for Young? I don't know. Throw it for Young.
Okay, you
throw
see?
it for Young. Hey, let's do it.
Hey,
Listen, a couple years. I mean, they had the number 1 pick a couple years back in the day. They had a chance to get a Young. Didn't want to get him because he's from Houston. Thought it would be a little weird. Was a Texas superstar. And decided to go with a defensive end. Don't know why, but
sometimes in the NFL, life works out that way, and you just get a second chance. Okay, you get a second chance. I mean, look at it this way: the Pittsburgh Steelers had the 18th pick, and the last time they passed up on a quarterback from Pittsburgh that was really, really good was in the Hall of Fame.
Could have won a championship, like 4 or 5 of them.
I'm just saying, sometimes in the NFL, you get a second chance to make things right.
Yeah, you do. You really, really do.
But this is not a second chance. This is one chance right here for the Houston Texans with pick number 3. They do have pick number 13, but that's 10 spots later. But we're going to focus on number 3 today. So, Brandon, with the 3rd pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, what is the name that Roger Goodell is going to read off that card in that podium in the fabulous city of Las Vegas, Nevada?
God. Okay. With the number 3 pick in the NFL Draft, the Houston Texans will select Trayvon Walker, defensive lineman from Georgia.
Bam! Look at that.
I think
Trayvon Walker. Here we go.
I think
the surprise of the draft if this were to fall this way.
Listen, I think it happens. I think because, like I said earlier, what is the best player in Houston, Texas history? A defensive lineman, J.J. Watt. Do I think Trevor Walker could be that? We shall see. But I think also we forget Lovie Smith how does he make his money? defense.
Oh,
That's
defense.
been his calling card for all of his
That's
career.
been his MO for life.
So it's literally, I can see, like, and here's the thing. You just said it, like, that could be a shocking pick at that particular spot. But at the same time, the man went to Indianapolis and had a pretty good combine, an amazing combine that pushed him all the way up.
That was one hell of a combine he did have. I'm not gonna
He
lie.
pushed
That
him
was
all the
one
way
hell of
up.
a combine.
Yeah, pushed him all the way up to the top 5, because a lot of people was like, maybe he can be good, but we shall see. He was in the first round, but then that combine, and then also what he did at the college day, it kind of was good. It wasn't super over the top, but it did what it needed to show, because he was already a pretty good lineman in college.
Yeah.
It just needed to, you just needed to see it individually, and it did. And I think the Houston Texans, they're gonna start with defense first. I was thinking about O-line, but I was like, listen, they're gonna do trenches, but I just feel like it's on the other side of the ball, because they need a lot of help. And
Trayvon. Trayvon. He's an interesting cat, because some people have him top 10. Some people have him middle. Some people have him at the end of the first, and some people have him no later in early second. It depends on who you talk to and how you vision him to be.
And
do you vision him to be a linebacker? Do you vision him to be a defensive end? Is his play going to hold up? Is he too small?
And I think as much as
can you do that?
And I think when you have a quarterback dilemma like you do in the AFC South, and when you're going up against as many running backs in the AFC South as you're going up against with Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and James Robinson for 6 games, you might need some help. You might need some help.
There's gonna be some help. Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying this kid's gonna be Michael Parsons, but he can help you in certain levels, especially with that quarterback playing AFC South. The only quarterback you really have to worry about is maybe Matt Ryan, and he's a statue. So if you can get to him,
no, he's a statue, all right.
He's a tree. He's a freaking tree. He's a tree. He's an old wooded tree that can't move.
I love Trayvon Walker. I really do like Trayvon Walker. I just think for me, I could see it. I would be really shocked. I mean, that would be like, yo, so not George Perfilatis, not even Kayvon Thibodeau. We're just gonna go straight to Georgia. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Just like that. Okay. I mean, yeah, they won the national championship, so I can understand why you bring in championship kids. Okay. They must love football. I guess that's a good consensus. All right. So here's where we finally get our first difference in our picks. Yep, here we go. Yep. So this is how I envision it seen. And they're for Houston, they can do a lot of things. A lot of these teams can do a lot of things. They can trade down. Hell, they could even trade up. I mean, I don't know with what, but they could trade up. They could get a player later down the road. My thing with the defensive line, it's so deep, especially with the edges, that it's like, And Trayvon Walker is one of those like, well, how does Houston feel about him? Do they like him? Do they love him? Because there's a difference between like and love. People forget that.
Yeah.
I was thinking online, but the problem is Evan Neal really the second best offensive lineman? Maybe that goes to, I don't know, Kenyon Green, Charles Cross. And I was thinking D-line too, but I'm like, wait a minute. What if you can get a DeMarvin Neal or a Devontae White in the second round? Should they fall? I'm thinking, well, if you're going to go 3, you might as well just get the best player available at that point. You might as well just go for it. I know it's not going to be the sexiest pick, but at least you got the best consensus. You got the best player at his position where you don't have to say, is he better than this guy? No, you get the best one at his position. So for me, with the 3rd pick in the 2022 NFL draft, in my world, the Houston Texans select Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. Yeah, listen. I know Listen, these two picks that we might put on the internet later, they might not be the sexiest picks for these fans, but understand they got to understand where you're coming from and they got to understand where I'm coming from. In your position, maybe you believe he's a better pass rusher than Thibodeau. Maybe he's a little bit better technique wise than Parafratis from Wake Forest. For me, it's listen, man. If you got the chance to get there's only so many. There's not that many consensus players in this year's draft.
Exactly.
Understand when you talk to a lot of these, scouts and everything, they keep saying the same thing. Tyler Linderbaum is the best center in this draft class, and Kyle Hamilton is the best safety in this draft class. You could go Tyler Linderbaum 1 or 3, but then you're going to risk losing a lot of other good players.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't get them later if you really want them. Who's to say that maybe you don't pick them up at 13? I don't know. You never know. You just never know with the way this draft works. But if Kyle Hamilton's sitting there for you right there, for me, I think it would be a no-brainer. You lose Justin Reed, your best defensive player, you got to replace that. So why not get the best safety in the draft class? And listen, he's built different, man. 6'4", 220. First team All-ACC in 2020, consensus All-American this year. He looks like a safety, and his numbers test like a safety. 4.540, 4.32 20-yard dash, 6.93 cone drill, a 38-inch vertical, and a 10 feet 11 inches broad jump. This dude walks like a safety because he is a safety. He's never going to be big enough to play linebacker. He's never going to be the safety that's, 235, 240 pi, and it's like, you know what, maybe we should try him at linebacker to extend his football career. No, this dude's a safety, man. 6'4", 220. He's never going to be big enough to play linebacker anyway. So we know he has to make it as a safety. We know this. And I just think the way I look at Kyle Hamilton, my only comp for him, it comes down to two people that ever had his size at safety that I've seen in recent memory. I kind of see him as a combination of a Taylor Mays and Cam Chancellor. And what I mean by that is Taylor Mays with better coverage skills.
Yeah.
And Cam Chancellor, which his tackling is already amazing. So why not get a guy that, one, could be Taylor Mays with better coverage skills, and two, already has Cam Chancellor tackling ability? You're going to use them a lot. You might as well get a bang for your buck at 3 and give these Texans fans something to cheer about.
Yeah, I mean, look, we both go defense. It's just different defensive players. Clearly, we know Texans go on defense.
Well, I mean, the consensus is they're going defense, but we don't know that. Remember, we do these picks and this is what I always try to explain to people. We do these picks if we were the general manager of the team.
That is true.
If we were the general manager, this is what I would want to do. So, in the end, I mean, yeah, you get a defensive edge. Well, you get an edge rusher because the thing with Trayvon Walker is, well, what is he? Is he a defensive end? Is he a linebacker? Where do you want to put him? What do you want to do? So, to me, it's just one of those things where I think we both feel that the defense is a big issue for the Texans. And they need to solve it in any way they can, whether that's you got to replace your J.J. Watt or you got to replace your Justin Reed. I think it'll be easier to replace the Justin Reed than a J.J. Watt. That's why I'm going to go safety here for the Texans.
Completely understand that. I think that if I'm Lovie Smith, he had better. When you think about how he got to the Super Bowl pretty much in 2006, he was led by Brian Urlacher, and Lance Briggs. So I'm thinking like that. I'm like, Trayvon Walker fits what I guess they were. And I think that's why he might go him.
And listen, I think that would shock everybody. I think at that point it would just be like one of those like
Yeah,
type
I
of
mean, listen, I didn't say it was going to be a amazing pick at the damn 3. I just think that's going in. I think he's just going to go that way.
I think it's just gonna be one of those like if that name were to pop out, everybody would just be like, like
I
oh
think
my God.
I think it would be more so like, I mean, I kind of could see it, but why that damn high when you could probably get him at 13?
I think it happens every year. I think it's because some people fall in love with them too much.
Yeah, and they say, well, I talked to everybody around the league, and they said they're going to get him early. I'm like, you didn't talk to a damn soul around the league, and they said they're going to take him early. Daniel Jones.
Like, there was no soul that thought that was going to be there at 3. There was no soul.
Like nobody said that. Daniel Jones, Mitchell Trubisky. Like nobody said that. Who said that?
Like who lied to you? Who told you? Who did you hurt? Like it's just one of the. To me, it's just one of those things where I mean, we'll see. And like I said, we're gonna put it on Instagram and everything, and we'll see what the fans decide. I mean, we'll see what the fans decide on who's probably better.
Yeah.
I mean, who would you rather want? Would you rather want Kyle Hamilton? Would you rather want Trayvon Walker? I think there's no wrong answer here for the Houston Texans because I think they're in a position no matter who they draft, they're going to get judged by it anyway. And I think that's the problem. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I think it should be a good one.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good one. But, all right. I mean, those were our 2 picks. You guys let us know, man, in the comments because I know you guys like to comment after the videos and everything. But that's okay. And that's okay. Who would you guys rather have? Kyle Hamilton or Trayvon Walker? The ultimate question for the Houston Texans. Or make option C, other, and let us know in the comments. I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. But until then, Brandon, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We got another episode tomorrow. It is the New York Jets are on the clock.
On the clock.
I think it's the Jets. The New York Jets are on the clock.
And right after that, the Giants.
yeah. So back-to-back New York, baby. It's all about the New Yorks. It's all about the New Yorkers.
The Big Apple is very sour, so we don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah. And you know what? The Jets, they did a lot of good moves. I think the Jets had a very underrated offseason.
They had a really good draft last year. I would say they actually had a really good draft last year.
They had a good draft, and they actually had a pretty good offseason this year. I don't know, man. Maybe Robert Sala's got something up his sleeve that maybe nobody's ready to see come. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited for the Jets because it's like, man, I don't know. And listen, the Jets were this close to getting Tyreek Hill. Like, we're not going to just sit here and say that the Jets were not about to pick up Tyreek Hill.
I was about to say
it. But New York or Miami? New York or Miami? Sorry, New York. I mean, I think it's like in order for cold weather teams to compete, it's like you got to win, dude. You got to be winners. I think that's why everybody tries to.
I feel like if that was like New England, he would have been in New England.
The Jets or Miami? If I'm going to suffer, I'm going to suffer in good weather. Give me Miami. Give me Miami. I love
good weather.
I like how Tyreek Hill came out and said, you know what? I think Tua was one of the better accurate passers in the NFL. Like, hey, man, you just got here. You don't have to butter up your
you don't have to
let's get a couple practices first. And then
I'm about to say, you don't have to lie to us. We know what the deal is. We know
hey. How about this, Tyreek? How about we get a couple practices in first, and then we'll see if you're thinking the same thing in about a couple months afterwards, okay?
When you can't throw the ball,
let's see how it goes first, okay?
When you can't throw the ball 20 feet down the field, 20 yards down the field, you're like, yeah, this is bad. Like Teddy Bridgewater, please. Two gloves, no.
Two gloves, please. I know he'll overthrow me, but I'll get there, man.
I can find a way. I can find a way
to get there. I will find a way to get there. Yeah, it's good. Like I said, I think the Jets are in a good position to pick up a really good player. But the problem is, it's like, well, which one? Because it's like they're a team that drafted well, but it's like, damn, do you need this? Do you already finding its replacement after you just drafted him?
Yeah.
Damn, you just signed him and you're already finding his replacement? Damn. I think the Jets one's going to be very fun tomorrow. I think the Jets is going to be a very fun one tomorrow. So I can't wait for that one. I think that one's going to be fun.
That'd be
But
good.
Brandon, thank you so much for joining, my man. And everybody that tuned in today, tuned in tomorrow, please be safe. Please have a safe weekend. Don't do anything stupid. It ain't worth it. Go have fun, but be safe about it. Until then, Brandon, I will see you tomorrow, my man.
See you tomorrow, man.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Peace. Let's end this thing.